Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Allan, and we're here today to talk about the Challenge All-Stars Season 3, Episode 6. I'm joined by my lovely co-host. We have the Southern Luke Muncie,
What's up, guys?
the Canadian Miss Nikki Sind,
Hello, hello, hello.
and the vivacious Vermontian Zoe.
Hi, everyone.
We got ourselves another episode of Challenge All-Stars, and the rivalries in this episode were heated. We saw people winning the challenges, going after their enemies, some heated back and forth. We had a birthday party, we had some 50 Cent, a lot going on. A bit of an underwhelming elimination, but as a whole, it was a pretty good episode with big outcomes. How are you guys feeling?
Chugging right along. I feel like this is another solid season.
Yeah, like you said, the rivalries took center stage, and that was what dominated all of my attention in that episode. But I'm looking forward to see how it shakes out over the next couple weeks.
I thought it was a solid episode. Probably not like my favorite. We'll get into elimination type things that upset me. But, all in all, we're going to talk about it.
All right. Do you guys want to dive into the big men's rivalry or the big women's rivalry first? Because we're going to just jump straight to the episode, and those two things were at the forefront from the beginning.
Take your pick. Let's go.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. Come back from the elimination. We have Sylvia jokingly telling Johnny, "Oh, and now the sabotage is going your way." Like, ha 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 ha. And it's like, and Johnny's like, "Wait, really?" And she's like, "No, it's actually just gonna go to KellyAnne." And Sylvia feels comfortable saying that because she doesn't like KellyAnne and because it's already known they're going after them. KellyAnne sees that, disgusted. But it was a bit of a rude comment, but it got the ball rolling to start off.
KellyAnne's face, if I could frame that and just put it in the corridors of my heart, so funny. I get it. In her position, I'd be mad too, but she can't take a joke at all. She just was so upset.
Well, and again, we go back to if she doesn't say that, then she's fake, and she does, so she's mean. So she can't really win. I appreciate her honesty. I was amused by it. KellyAnne clearly was not.
I thought it was funny because it felt very much like an old school challenge comment rather than a new thing, like a new school challenge thing where it'd be like, you said this about me on Instagram, so I'm going to throw the sabotage your way. They were just like, nope, we're just going to be catty. And I truly feel like this whole treehouse versus KellyAnne thing, I think it'll just be something that happens on the show rather than so much in outside life.
Unless you're KellyAnne, who is avidly on Instagram making comments about people months after filming. And let me just say, people have come at me in the comments and have been like, if they don't talk about the show, it's a losing situation. If they do, they're bitter months later. I get it's a weird middle ground. I really do. But the difference is how affected you appear when you talk about it. You can totally have discourse on what's happening on the show. In fact, you should. But targeted, directed, added, really emotion-driven comments. So crazy, KellyAnne. Ooh.
Yeah, making yourself a victim, and it's just a little much. And like you said, she's clearly very affected by it. And I mean, whatever. If that's what you're gonna do to stay getting cast on this show moving forward, then so be it. That's fine. But don't expect anyone to think that makes you calm, cool, and collected.
What bothers me about it is she didn't have all this bark and bite when Kendall was still there. When Kendall was still there, she's like, I have to protect Kendall. I'm not the victim. I swear. Kendall's the victim. As soon as Kendall is sent packing, she's like, hey, wait a minute.
It's been building up since that second or third challenge. She's been getting more and more frustrated, and I think that in recent weeks it's really just come off as KellyAnne being bitter. But this week we saw, I think, a turning of the tides with the edit where they show her having the Skype call with her boyfriend, and you could really feel the Treehouse Alliance is really in power. She's really on the outside where she's not even connecting with Johnny or Nia that much. It really does feel like it was KellyAnne versus the world in this episode, or at least KellyAnne fully believes that. And KellyAnne, in most seasons she's on, she's usually on the outside looking in, which is it's par for the course. I mean, back in the day when she's going against Johnny Bananas, it's very easy to root for KellyAnne. When she's going against these women who are just playing the game a bit cutthroat and strategically, it's harder to root for her.
I agree, and I feel like if she like had taken the stance of, wow, that really sucked when I was in the game. I felt like my back's against the wall, but I'm viewed as a threat. Like they really wanted to get me out, as opposed to this is mean girl mentality and you ganged up on me. It's like, no, this is a show based on alliances and game moves. But I feel like she did get some justice this episode, so I'll let her have that.
Yeah. And now let's talk about the other rivalry going on, which is we've been talking about for weeks, and it's Brad versus MJ. And I just we see I love it so much because like they kind of are they really are multidimensional characters. They're not just like random people who are beefing over like Instagram followers. They keep calling each other scared throughout the episode. And I feel like when you call your opponent scared, you're basically saying I'm terrified myself.
Well, I was just gonna say they're both scared. Like that is clear as day that they're both like it's important to them. The money's important to them. A lot is on the line, and that fear is totally natural and normal. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that both of them are scared of each other at this point.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say that like they came into the season disliking each other. I think there was just one rogue Sabotage that set the ball in motion, and now it's like, whoa, I don't like you and you don't like me. Like they'd probably be great friends outside the house in any other circumstance, but yeah, they're both threats to one another.
Brad finally got in some licks towards MJ where I was like, that's actually funny. He was like claiming that his knee injury is not really real. He's like, I don't know what's real with him. Is his hair even real? And I just like looked at the screen. I was like, is your beard even real? I don't know why that was my response, but I have to like stand Daddy MJ all the time.
It's great too because they're both great competitors. They actually do have families that they mention and they care about it. It's just like they're not just these random people. There's layers to why they want to win on top of just pride and ego. And man, both these dudes have massive egos. I mean, it's just part of the game. We move on to the episode. We get to the daily challenge, and the sabotage comes into play. Let's just talk about Mark's sabotage first because it's the more boring one. He says, "Who wants to sabotage? It's going to MJ anyway, but who wants it?" MJ claims it. MJ used this because, like, well, that's an excuse for if I lose, and also I'm going to prepare myself for elimination. Pretty simple.
You know that person that always says, I'm such a good person, and they're like the worst person you know?
Me?
Maybe, I don't know, but like that's how I view Mark Long in the sense of like he is so just and wants everything to be right that he either A spoke with MJ beforehand and wanted to look like a good guy, or B just really could not make a critical decision to sabotage someone, and that drives me nuts. Like I get that it's the boring choice and MJ should have never said yes, but it's like you're taking out the gameplay. Do you not have any target? Like are you just coasting?
Yes.
Well, that's his game. That's what he does.
That's true.
He sets up a bunch of shields around him and then he just watches as they fall. I wish for like a viewer's sake that MJ hadn't fallen on that sword. I would have liked to see Mark have to say something just for once.
Well, that's, I hate to perpetuate the whole narrative of like Mark being the Godfather, but like that's what the Godfather did. He had all these people surrounding him. I like to note I had a very, very hard time taking both Mark and Naya seriously this episode because of the Tostitos commercial that they did for the MTV Awards. And I don't know if everyone else saw this, but
it was bad.
It sure was.
Oh no! What was it? Regular Tostitos or Tostito scoops?
Regular.
Oh.
Like that matters.
I love the scoops. They're really.
Well, yeah,
they're very.
There it is. They're way better.
They're very handy too. They're an amazing chip.
You can make them into like their own little nacho bowl. I've done that before. Anyways, so this commercial, just very poor acting, and they both admit, well, Naya at least admits that she needs like acting classes, but ooh-wee, Rick.
All right. Yep. We need to get them some Tortilla Soups commercials so they can recoup it. All right. So the female sabotage is where things go bad. Sylvia looks at the challenge. She's like, okay, there's gonna be water, there's gonna be puzzles, there's gonna be a mental element to this game. I saw KellyAnne try to build a star earlier this season, and she freaked out. She had a complete meltdown. There's no use on using a sabotage on her because this girl does not know what a star looks like. She sees John A. She's like, well, John A. is really smart. I want the treehouse to win. I'm going to throw it on John A. If the goal is to get a treehouse win, that is the most loyal and rational move. I want to note that because this went catastrophic for Sylvia. Like her sabotage was used, like the execution was so poorly, but the rationale there on paper wasn't too bad.
Agreed, 100%. I thought it made perfect sense. And she was right about KellyAnne freaking out in puzzles. Like that's 100% accurate. It not just because it didn't go her way doesn't mean that it wasn't the right move.
I agree, and I feel like the only element that actually threw a wrench into this plan is that people got eliminated as the daily went on, because if every single woman continued to compete, I'm still not sure we would have had the same results. But we just narrowed down the playing field, and the puzzle was the last thing.
I did enjoy that part of the daily because it did reward people for, doing well in certain portions. So I did like that element, but you're right, it did affect the game. I want to say this. On paper, for the treehouse, best move possible. Because the treehouse is her alliance, and Sylvia is an extremely loyal player. She plays for her entire alliance. That's what she did with the Lavender Ladies. She's doing it with the treehouse now. But for her individual game, it was an awful social move because it made her John A's number one enemy now. KellyAnne already didn't like her. So basically, Sylvia guaranteed that if she did not win the daily challenge herself, she would be the treehouse member going into elimination.
I have to disagree with everyone. I don't think strategically it was a great move to put John A in, only because John A was put into the elimination and got to pick Beth to come in, right? That put her on Sylvia's good side already. And so she could have just used hey, I let you take out Beth, who was saying all these awful things about your family and about MJ, and then I didn't sabotage you. She could pull her into the treehouse. You could have another person. If KellyAnne's your main target.
It was just a misplay, I think, just as a whole. Looking back, I don't know. It was just, I like the thinking on paper. It was rational. She was trying to think of her alliance, but she didn't think about herself, and that's where it went wrong. The daily challenge plays out, and we're gonna talk about the men first because it was the more boring one. And basically, Brad dominated the whole way through. He was second to get his code. He finished paddleboarding faster than everyone, and he did the puzzle with complete ease. Brad, he's been stunning this season. This is one of the strongest male casts ever, and he continues to be at the top each time, no matter what it is. And I'm amazed.
He blew me away. Blew me away. Bionic Brad, 100% accurate nickname. He is just absolutely killing it. I can't help but feel like he's killing it in all these dailies. Is he gonna flop if he gets to a final? But super, super credit to Brad. He just crushed it. There's no other way to put it.
He's really focused this time. Sorry, I just wanted to note that. He seems much more focused.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm so impressed by him. And I can't remember which one of you said this, so chime in if it was you. But Brad, I'd never considered this. This is not an original thought, but Brad plays at the level that people around him are playing. Vendetta's Brad. It's Pizzagate, it's Brittany, it's whatever. But he's with top tier competitors, and he's really coming to the occasion. And I also really liked how he kicked the puzzle, which was a direct ripoff of the Survivor puzzle. It gave me Michelle Fitzgerald flashbacks of her winning that puzzle twice. But I'm really impressed by him. And at this point in the season, he is who I want to see win for the men, just because he's been smart. He's made some good moves. He's performed in dailies. Even when he probably would be safe if he didn't win, he still goes out and tries to win. So I'm loving him this season.
It's a how the tables have turntabled. It's really throwing me off. It really shows me how much it will affect my view of a challenger, depending on the proximity of time in which they've slept with old Buck Wild Brittany. Mm-hmm. It does affect their game.
Oh yeah, it shows me how fickle I am, like a Gemini through and through, because I'm yeah, Team Brad, let's get it.
He's after our MJ, and we're hey, wait a minute.
No,
He's doing really well.
He's been so much better. Like they aren't even in the same league when you watch them compete. Like it's not even like Brad is just surpassing like everyone on this cast, and it's unbelievable. I've always had like a lot of respect for Brad as a competitor, but man, he's just looked so good this season. Let's get into the female heat because it was literally all over the place.
Wait, can I make one note about the men's? How cute was that very edited like Nehemiah and Wes moment? That their like Moana moment was so cute.
Oh, you're disgusted, Zoe?
Talking. They weren't even talking. It was like this voiceover with the weird background, and they were having a moment the entire time they were on those paddle boards. They didn't look at each other. They didn't talk to each other. They didn't stop. They didn't laugh.
That doesn't mean it wasn't a moment. You've never had a moment just being near someone in their proximity?
Not Wes. Or Nehemiah, frankly.
I love them because like they are really like they have nothing in common, but they're just best friends, and they have been for 16, 17 years, and I just love that about them. I just
like
love
that
it.
high school best friend.
Yeah.
You know, that like one person you meet in high school. Shout out to Sandra McDonald.
Yeah.
You have almost nothing in common with, and yet your friendship continues over the decades.
My next door neighbor. We were born one day apart, nothing in common, but he's my guy.
Yep.
It's just, yeah, I enjoyed it. I also like that Nehemiah mentioned like I'm invisible. Nobody's noticed me this entire game, and like
not even us. Yeah.
No, I mean he hasn't won a single daily challenge. Hasn't been like gone into elimination. Nobody's even considered him for elimination. So congratulations, Nehemiah, for just like really just coasting through halfway through a game. Because
they barely acknowledged his birthday. He's like, it's my birthday, and a lot of other people's are close.
Like a group birthday.
Oh.
He smells really good. I'm gonna be honest. Like I met him in person. He smells really good, and I remember.
I remember money on that.
No, on All Stars 2, I remember Katie's like, "Damn, you smell good." I'm like, he does smell good in person. Like he actually is a good smelling man, and I think that's part of why people keep him around.
Better
because he smells good.
Okay, now let's get to the women's heat, which was all over the place. At first, it looks like Naya's gonna kill it. She gets her code faster than anyone. It looks like she's gonna be amazing. Can't paddleboard at all. She's out. Veronica looks like she's gonna kill it. She gets her code second. Puts it in reverse. Doesn't even get her paddle. Knocked out immediately. Sylvia can't scrape at all, even though she's used the sabotage, giving Johnny a chance to get the paddle. And most of the women have trouble paddleboarding, except for one person, Miss KellyAnne, who owns 3 paddleboards at home, which was just I don't know anyone who owns 3 paddleboards.
Well, that was my first thought. I was like, why do you need 3? Like, who needs 3 paddleboards?
Because you you rotate them, and some of them have more like.
I think 2 paddleboards is completely reasonable. I think the 3rd paddleboard is excessive and unnecessary.
Maybe she wants to have like paddleboard parties, and like she wants to dream up some friends that are gonna go paddleboarding with her.
I mean, I have 2 skateboards. I have friends that like wakeboard and paddleboard, and they have tons of them. I can't tell if this is just like a white person thing right now.
No. Honest review. What do you think of her boyfriend? I thought he's handsome. I think he's a good-looking dude.
He's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Seems very nice. Maybe one of the paddleboards is his, but random.
And one for the dog.
To point out. One for the dog. Random thing to point out. When KellyAnne was an alternate on Vendettas, there's a picture somewhere on the internet of her, Nicole Ramos, on a paddleboard together, and Derrick Kozinski on his own paddleboard. It's out there. She's been paddleboarding for years. She had the element of surprise there.
That's something that surprised me when they like explained the challenge. Like, yeah, and then you'll get on this paddleboard. Like, yeah, they're gonna make them paddleboard, and then I was like, oh, this is a skill that they expect them to have.
I couldn't believe it when I saw the trailer. I thought it was the final. I'm like, we never see them paddleboard on this show. Also, I think is that when she hooked up with Derrick in the same hotel room as Rogan and Nicole were hooking up? Was that time?
Yeah, and Corey from Big Brother was also there. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
What was he in the hookup? What was he? Was he just watching?
Corey, probably.
I don't know. To be in Spain, who knows? Anyways, KellyAnne kills it on the paddleboard. She's got lots of practice.
And then yeah, she gets to shore, and Wes of all people is like, all right, he's trying to coach her through the puzzle, and he mentions the fact that they are exes after all this time, after they did Rivals 3 together for the first time in over a decade. He actually mentions their relationship. That was a thing. It was a big storyline at one point in time.
And much like KellyAnne, I also forgot. So
I liked KellyAnne's reaction of just being like, "Oh, that was nice," but as a viewer, I'm just like, "Ugh, who cares?"
I know it honestly was endearing though. Like she was genuinely like touched that anyone was cheering for her. Like as much as I didn't want her to win, frankly, I had a moment feeling like, oh, that's nice. Like everyone deserves to have at least one person cheering for them.
And we've also had those moments with like certain exes where you see them at like the Starbucks. Like that wasn't a bad interaction. That was just. I hope they're doing well. I hope they might get a Christmas card this year. That's what it felt like.
speak for yourself. I want to know. I know I hate to bring back Busted Lash Beth, but like she considered it to be cheating when people were helping Janae during that elimination. So it's like, is it considered to be cheating if KellyAnne is getting help from Wes in the Book of Beth?
In the Book of Beth, yes, probably, but she wouldn't bring it up because she would have been rooting for KellyAnne, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you know she would not have paddleboarded.
I feel like it's a consistent complaint on these shows, though, like people getting outside help. Like I think about the season where Dee was listing the seasons in order and she knew none of them and Wes told her. Ashley lost. Yeah, I hate that as an Ashley fan, but like it's an element of the game. Like they're played in front of groups, and like even in that pivotal moment, you either have support or you don't. So like I get the frustration, but I also just don't care. Like it's part of the game.
Well, I'm gonna, and this will be the only time I use this sentence and then have anything follow it. In Dee's defense about that particular elimination is that she is from Australia. In Australia, they hadn't aired any of those past seasons.
They have the internet though. I
Sounds like
think.
a her problem. I don't know.
Well,
Australia,
I feels like she's got a
Australia
lot
has
more than that.
Wi-Fi. Unlike England, Australia has Wi-Fi.
Yeah, they have giant bugs, and
So yeah,
and
okay.
now they have D again. So
Ronnie and John A eventually get to shore because Nia and Kayla can't paddleboard. 3 out of the 4 treehouse don't even get a shot at the puzzle. Uh, Ronnie's actually killing the puzzle, but she misplaces one puzzle piece at the bottom of her tower, and she can't find it. So her puzzle is just like one piece short, and she's thinking, "What am I getting wrong? What am I getting wrong?" I gotta say, the treehouse. What the hell are you doing? She obviously
not
had
a
a puzzle
peep.
piece. Yeah. Like, come on, tell her she has a puzzle piece missing. I can see it. Why can't they see it?
And I get for Ronnie, like she's tunnel vision. Like, let's get this done. She's at the third layer. Of course, she's not gonna look at the base of the star to look for it. So like I can excuse her, but you're right. Anybody from the treehouse should be worried. Why are you not like looking all over trying to give her insight?
I think I'm confused about when KellyAnne's dropped the first time, why she didn't just like take a step back and like really like reset, or at one point start trying to build them like on the ground. I think that's what I would have done, and I feel like maybe she would have seen that she definitely had a piece missing if she was trying to build it flat instead of trying to stack it up. But
it very much, sorry, it very much made me feel like they weren't really rooting for Ronnie to win. The other treehouse members. It seemed like it felt like a test because they're like, oh, like Veronica was sort of saying like how like Ronnie hasn't really won anything and how like she wants Ronnie to be able to help the treehouse the way that they've been helping her or as much as they've been helping her. I don't know. Like Allan said, I don't know why someone couldn't just be like, hey, yo, your piece is right there.
I disagree with that just because like there's no test at this point in the game. It's just you don't want KellyAnne or John A to win, especially after the sabotage and everything. Like there's just no test. Like at that point, it's like you just like they don't care who. Like you could change Ronnie's name to anyone as long as they're a treehouse member. They want that person to win in that moment. KellyAnne
feel like it.
KellyAnne was about to win, and then a gust of wind knocked down her puzzle in dramatic fashion, and it was like I have to say,
it was funny.
Veronica's confessional, like, oh, this shows you how like the game could just turn upside down on her. I'm like, it wasn't even her fault. A gust of wind just came and knocked down her puzzle. Like it wasn't like she knocked it down. The wind knocked it down, but it was just showing how much they have, like how much distaste they have for KellyAnne. I'm like, what?
I like to think that production had like a remote that just had like a little vibrating thing, and like Kelly got close to winning. Like she's not had a meltdown yet, and they just buzzed it a little bit. But no, in her defense, I would be freaking out if that happened to me.
She tried to ask like, well, that's unfair. Are we getting like a reset or what's going on in that moment? Like she actually
Like,
thought
no.
it could happen.
What I always laugh about is like during these like reality competition shows, if it's something that involves like balance or something, like on Survivor when they do those like puzzles where they have to like move the ball into the right thing. Anyways, my family and I, when we watch it, will be like at the screen, like thinking that we're affecting it at all. Like I was making sure Jonathan did not win Survivor. I was like, So maybe I did that to KellyAnne. I don't know.
My friends laugh at me when we play fighting video games, and I'm actually like moving my arms and like stuff. But yeah, like
That's how you drive. That's how you play Mario Kart.
Mario
You have
Kart,
to
yeah.
move with it.
1000%. Eventually, though, KellyAnne's able to rebuild her puzzle. Ronnie can't find her piece. John A's just struggling with this type of puzzle. I have to say, these puzzles, like the ones where you need the depth perception, those kill me. I have no perception when it comes to that stuff. Like I was a good baseball player, but you hit a pop fly towards me, and I look terrible. I'll catch it, but I'm only catching it at the last second once it's like near eye level. It's just not happening for me, and I get it. It's impressive that KellyAnne did well in this, and she pulls off the win, and she's just thrilled because it was her against the world. If she didn't win, she'd be going into elimination.
And Sylvia's sick.
Sick about it.
And I have to
upset.
I probably would have said the exact same thing that Sylvia said. I'm that same catty bitch, especially in that moment when like Ronnie was so close for so long. I would have been like, oh, fuck this bitch. Like seriously.
There is the element too where she just knows like fuck, I'm going into elimination now.
I feel like we didn't hear enough from the rest of the trios. There's a lot of Sylvia. Not that I'm complaining, but I always want to hear more Kayla.
True, but I feel like Kayla was more like matter of fact in her targeting of even Kendall and then KellyAnne, where Sylvia made the snide remarks that were intended to be jokes, but not perceived as jokes. And then I think just like even Sylvia being in the position of power, she did not sabotage KellyAnne, but it just still rubbed KellyAnne the wrong way. To be honest, I feel like, I'm not saying this is true or it's not. I feel like they view Kayla as more of a threat than Sylvia. So Sylvia is the easier person to like pick on in that situation.
I've seen, Kayla laugh with KellyAnne. I've seen them, share a joke. I haven't seen that with Sylvia. I think Kayla's just played a better social game. And I think like that her saying like she's sick really was like the nail in the coffin, like not the nail in the coffin, but it really hurt the treehouse because Naya hears it and she tells John A about it. And now, like these three individuals who we've been all season, we've been like, why don't they unite? Sylvia's comment drove Naya directly to KellyAnne, and it drove John A to KellyAnne after the sabotage. So Sylvia, like, I love Sylvia. I think she's underrated, but she played this episode so poorly from the social strategic aspect, like that the treehouse has just been killing the entire game. She really fumbled the bag in a lot of ways.
But in some ways too, I think Naya was being so melodramatic about that comment. And because Naya's not saying anything out loud to anyone other than apparently KellyAnne at this point, like how is Sylvia even supposed to know that that was going to bug her? Like Naya is a shadow on this show.
Yeah.
She's not doing anything. So I wouldn't even noticed she was there.
And also, I don't think Naya even cared. I think Naya just was securing her safety. Like, don't throw me in, throw Sylvia in.
I do the same thing. So quick I would be a rat about that.
And KellyAnne's reaction being like, I'm feeling vindictive.
They're taking my light.
Right. I'm like, what did you like?
Who else my aura.
Target? God.
They've unaligned my chakras. What do I do now?
I really like KellyAnne this episode. I'm sorry I did. I gotta say Naya though, she's had a lot of like little reactions like that in these episodes where she's just offering her own little Naya world, where she's just having these comments about different and this was one of the moments where it actually came into being something that actually mattered in the game versus like just being in her own little Naya world. We get back to the house.
I just want to say I didn't hate KellyAnne this episode as much as I did before. I'm sure it was based a lot on edits, but I was like, wow, Sylvia's like coming off as like her like real world season Mean Girl.
KellyAnne, I mean, she showed why they're targeting her because she's really damn good at this game. I mean, she killed every part of it. They get back to the house. They have a birthday party. 50 Cent's, 50 Cent is playing. I'm always happy when we get some 50 Cent playing, personally.
I want to point out it was Kayla and John A's actual birthday.
Yeah, we forgot it was Nehemiah's.
Yeah.
The women looked excellent in all their dresses in the episode. Like some of the men really looked really did not show up. I'm not even gonna pretend like I'm not like singling people out. Wes, MJ, Derrick, put on a fucking suit. Do it. Everyone else looks amazing. You guys look like schlubs out there compared to everyone else.
Well, Yes was gone, and he's clearly the best looking. Not up for debate, in my opinion. And
Indiana.
I did not even notice the men at all. I can't remember anything they were wearing because when you have all the women looking that good, it's just a waste of my attention.
I try not to look at men in general, except of course for Allan and Luke, the only ones.
It's so funny because Allan, you said that, and I too, like Zoe, am piecing together in my head. What were they wearing? Was Nehemiah wearing red?
Someone had a hat, a sparkly top hat. I feel like because at one point I saw like confetti glitter go in the air, and I was so distracted by the idea that I would be so infuriated to have like glitter confetti thrown on me because like you're not getting that out for weeks. It's Pride Month. I got glitter all over me all the time.
I have to say, the
How dare you call me Zach?
In me was like, I'm so glad they've set off those confetti cannons inside and not outside.
You know they got that good Dyson in there too. Reuse that next season.
Or just reuse. Never mind. I'll say that later. Sorry.
The big part of this birthday is it comes into Sylvia and KellyAnne having a talk on the couch in their dresses. I thought they both looked phenomenal. I'll be honest. I thought they both looked great. And it was one of the best conversations I've ever watched on television because they had so much snark, distaste for each other, a lot of condescension, and they both like pretended to smile. They both pretended a lot of stuff was going on that it wasn't. It was just I was on my toes the entire time.
It made me almost as uncomfortable as the confessional between Beth and Veronica. Like I was like, oh God, like this needs to end. Like my whole body was cringing.
Well, what's funny to me is like I feel like Sylvia has the people skills to be able to like in that situation. Okay, yeah, put on my friendly face. KellyAnne does not. Like her face says it all. And the second she even feels the emotion, it slips out of her mouth and her neck starts to twitch and she starts to go. And I had to go back and watch it a couple of times. It made me uncomfortable, but it was funny because those girls do not like each other.
It was giving very much like happy hour on Zoom for work. You know, where you kind of have to put on that face and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, yep.
I love KellyAnne being like, oh yeah, I like all you girls, but I'm tired of pretending to be friends. It was just like she was just contradicting herself. I did think it was funny though, like the moment where KellyAnne actually like opened herself to maybe working with Sylvia, and Sylvia's like, well, you could go after Johnny and Naya, and like they were able to schmooze Kendall earlier in the season because Kendall plays with her heart. But ever since like KellyAnne debuted on the show, she's been headstrong. She's not dumb. You can't manipulate her like that. And she's like, well, that's just not going to happen. And I think Sylvia actually even just saying that out loud was very insulting.
But what else was she going to say?
It's just insulting to KellyAnne's intelligence to think she could get away with that.
She could have given the leverage to KellyAnne to be like, okay, who are you thinking? And if she would have said Kayla or Veronica, who, let's be honest, arguably are probably Sylvia's closest. I mean, Ronnie's there, but she's definitely on the outs of that alliance. Like, sure, let her have the leverage, but to say the two other girls that are not in your alliance, it's just like, okay, Sylvia.
I feel like if I was KellyAnne and I genuinely wanted to like work with the treehouse, I'd be going after Derrick. I'd be like, hey, let's talk. I think he's still a part of it. I think He's in that alliance, right?
He's
Yeah.
there.
He's
Yeah.
also there. Yeah, I'd be going to talk to him.
Not much of a conversation there, really.
Well, I didn't say if she
I-
wanted this like
yeah.
incredibly intelligent conversation.
I think, I mean, even if you were like, oh, okay, Sylvia, I'm throwing you in, who are you likely to call out? Or Sylvia said, if you're calling me in, who do you want me to call out? Because then she gets a name out of KellyAnne's mouth, I think more likely, and then she could use that to create some drama, and then for the long-term game, like really mess up KellyAnne's game. Instead, I think Sylvia just like really missed the mark, got frustrated, and just didn't really play that smart. I did find it funny how she's like, oh, she's going on a power trip. I'm like, well, yeah, she's in power. She earned it by winning a very hard daily challenge.
That's how you go on a power trip, is you have power.
But as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we see Sylvia play really poorly, but we also see her be a good stepmom on a
Oh,
Skype call, and it's
it
just
was
like
so sweet.
it's like we see the best and worst of both these characters over the last few weeks. So like if you're cheering for Sylvia, you really like attach yourself to her. And meet people who hate her, like, oh wow, she's actually like a good person still. Like it really makes you feel conflicted, and there's depth there, and it's something we don't get with the main show, and I love it.
I am so glad that you brought that up because I was going to if you didn't. Like step mama bear Sylvia, like getting on her stepson's asked about his grades. I just was like so proud of her and so endeared to her. And it was just like genuine love. Like I think it's so amazing and adorable that she was checking up on her stepson's grades while she was on this show. Like I don't have enough words. And being a step parent is not easy. And when you throw yourself all the way in a role like that and are clearly like 100% invested, I just have so much respect for step parents in that way. And
Shout out to step parents.
yeah, I thought she was amazing, and I thought it was so cool and such a good example for anyone watching this show.
I thought it was equally as sweet when KellyAnne talked about wanting to open the animal shelter. I would like to note that I thought it was really good that they showed Sylvia and her stepmother adventure, her new journey with that, because a lot of the times, you know, with like the Corys of the world, the Corey's like, I'm doing it for Ryder and Mila, and it's always like a highlight of like the dads, and there'll be like some highlight of the moms, and you know, the moms will get so much shit on Twitter where like, go home and take care of your kid. Can't win.
It's also just so crazy to think about because like the last time we saw Sylvia was Final Reckoning, and I'm like, what do I remember? Her headbutting Marie. That's what I remember. And I'm like, now we jump to here. It's only been a few years, but it's like she has a whole different life. She's a whole new person, and it's lovely to watch.
We love to see it.
We get to the deliberation between Brad and KellyAnne. That's a storyline, like I mentioned in the preseason, that like they're never going to acknowledge with the history that those two have. But moving away from it, they come to agreement that like Brad will just decide who goes in for the men, and she'll decide who goes in for the women. It leads to the least amount of conflict. Very simple. KellyAnne obviously throws in Sylvia. He throws in MJ. Go to the elimination now. Like pretty simple. That's it. Let's go to the elimination. They see it's going to be a puzzle or a maze, something mental. Sylvia, she's like, all right, I can either call out Naya or John A because of the two non-treehouse members. I'm already shown that I'm afraid of John A in a puzzle. I'm calling out Naya. Also because I haven't seen Naya do anything this season, which is fair. MJ looks at everyone and he's like, well, Derrick, it's your time. Like we're friends, but I'm taking you in a puzzle like every day of the week.
I think both smart decisions, and I've seen lots of people on Twitter like lashing at Sylvia, saying like, "How dare you say that about Naya? She's not done anything." And that's not to say that we dislike her or like anything like that. She just has been a body. And then as far as throwing Derrick in, so funny because if you're going to take someone out in a puzzle, it's probably going to be Derrick.
I have to say about Derrick's headband choice. I thought that it was a white headband for anyone that didn't see. It was quite large. I thought it was a bandage, and I thought that I missed some sort of injury. So I had to like pause
he
it.
threw himself into his puzzle and cracked his head open.
It's a very like Derrick thing. We saw him do that pole wrestle with Joss.
Yeah, the elimination itself was just a maze. It was just a maze where after at the end you would
And mini golf.
yeah, you would do one mini golf type putt into a hole. It was a really dumb elimination. I'm gonna be real with you. Was really underwhelming, especially for this late in the game. We see Naya and Sylvia play first, and I think whenever TJ blows the horn as a puzzle, people try to frantically solve it. It's a maze. You got to take your time and take a step back and just look at where you're going, because if you go into a dead end, that's more devastating than being like taking your time and being right.
I also want to point out in the maze portion of this, Jordan beat Sylvia.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Jordan beat the treehouse. Where the hell is the treehouse doing indirect? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and let me just say this too. You were talking about the rules and how like it's really anybody's game. They put in a West confessional where West is like, this is genuinely an elimination game that I would be so scared to go into because anybody could win or lose. And I think editors put that in there like, oh yeah, we're going to highlight how random our eliminations are. But if anything, it just showcases like this is faulty. Maybe not even faulty is the best word, but this is just lame. Like there's no skill really involved here aside from can you figure out where the pole goes and can you get the ball in the hole?
It was very much a carnival game.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Like-
it wasn't
Like
even
this,
like
you could see this
yeah.
on Big Brother and not be surprised to see this on Big Brother.
Oh, how
Like,
embarrassing.
yeah. I'll be honest, when I think of carnival games, I think of games that actually take like some problem solving and some skill. This didn't even take much of that. It really felt like a coin flip at times. Like, yeah, Jordan did a good job in directing Naya, and she did a great job in listening. And Naya hitting the hitting the ball in one shot looked very impressive when we saw what happened with the men. It's a tough one, but let's talk about Sylvia losing first, because I think it's a tough loss because Sylvia outright has been a much better player than Naya all season. There's like zero debate about that. So her to lose in this fashion, it's just frustrating because she was the more deserving player. I really like Naya. I think if they played a physical elimination, Naya had a really good chance because Naya's like an athlete. She's a giant. She's really tall. But we didn't get to see them have like a true elimination.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the Sylvia showing, even with this kind of like weird exit. She posted an Instagram today, like I was expecting just a 2-week vacation because she was an alternate at first, and just like last minute she was put on the final cast. And I think it shows, not that she's ever been timid on the show, but she like really went out and played with her heart, and she like made an alliance. She made big moves. She was in the top 3 multiple times. She was the top 1 last week. So I hate it for the same reasons you just said, but it was a great showing.
I have to say, Naya was such a like graceful winner. Like, sure, she like threw the thing down after because like I would do the same thing because I'd be like, "Fuck this stupid game." But she was like hugging Sylvia afterward, and like I don't know, very, very classy.
There's something really comical though about someone like chucking and like chucking their
That
star
Super Mario wand, yeah.
screaming after just playing like a kid's puzzle. Like there's something about that that's just like you can't help but kind of laugh. Like I get it. It's still all the money on the line, but in that moment it's like, good job. You did it.
Yeah.
That in a full classroom.
I will say she did actually get up and like begin to like celebrate halfway as it was towards the goal because she knew it was in immediately. Like that was the impressive part of it. And yeah, I felt like her and Jordan were having sex even though they were 40 feet apart with how they were celebrating in that moment. They were just on each other. They were the same wavelength the entire time that elimination.
I just ate dinner. Thanks, though.
The men's heat goes. MJ goes into a few dead ends. Derrick gets, a few right pass. I think Derrick had the crowd on his side as well. And then Derrick takes 87 putts to get the ball in the hole. Brad says the word divot 95 times. It was I felt like
his
he was
word of the day calendar.
I feel like he was being paid to say the word divot.
At one point, I thought to myself, as like, Derrick should have just like dragged his heel through the sand from the hole to the line, just like sent it. And
Wouldn't have
going
helped.
back to Derrick having the crowd on the side, where the hell was John A? I know she could have helped MJ get through that thing. What was she doing? Was she just so stressed she couldn't even talk?
I felt the same thing, and like, because she just stood there and looked frantic, quite honestly, and like, I don't understand, especially after just seeing how easily one person in the stands could win it for someone else. Why she wouldn't say, "Okay, head in the game, let's go."
I want to make a note. John A did say how poor her vision was when Beth came in as the alternate, and I can say as someone that also has very poor vision, like for distance, there's not a chance in hell I'd be able to tell anyone how to be doing that maze.
That's legit. Actually, there's no way I would have been able to see that far.
Johnny's also always been a really good listener, but she's never really been like a great, like loud communicator. She's someone who like looks at a puzzle and thinks pensively, and then like the answer comes to her brain, and she just solves it with her hands. She's not someone who visually sees and directs people. That's what Jordan's like great at, and that's what like there are certain people. I think Jordan, I think Wes, I think Ashley are really good at just seeing things and telling people how to direct people in certain places. It is a skill in its own right, communication and stuff like that. So maybe that's what it comes down to because she couldn't even, tell him what to do in the moment. Plus MJ was just going as fast as he could. So
I think he had given up at that point.
yeah, MJ gets beat. And like it was a dumb game. It was just a dumb elimination, and it was. I'm more mad because I'm still waiting for MJ to prove to me he's a great competitor. Like last season, he just coasted by. They did poorly in the final. John A solved the equation for them to win. It was a paper championship, and he had the ego that he dominated people like Yes did. Then he comes into this season. He made it to a couple of authorities, like a couple of third place finishes, but he still hasn't showed me that he's on the level of the other guys in the house. Like I don't think you're better than Nehemiah. I don't think you're better than. I definitely don't think you're better than Brad. But you carry yourself like you are. I just want to see you be an actual champion level player.
I also want to say that Naya had a very classy win, and Derrick did not. Derrick was doing his touchdown dance.
Nehemiah had the line of the episode, right? $5, he hurts himself, celebrate. Like, on it.
And I was like, is this how he gets his head injury?
I like how he channels his inner Lucky the Leprechaun when he's like, "Oh, I got your lucky stars," and he actually did look very much like a leprechaun in that moment with the little hat.
As an Irish woman, we do not accept. Nope.
Back to MJ though, like I would very much agree that he came to the season very like prideful almost, and in some senses I'll say that John A did as well. However, she can back that up. Top performing female, All Stars 1, when she was not in shape. She just had a baby. Like she was re-emerging into this world that is the challenge. Last season she had a great showing socially, whatever. I can give her credit why she would be cocky, but MJ not so much, especially with an injury. And I don't know if he's overcompensating or what, but I am a little bit happy to see him go because I think that frees up John A's mind of having to worry about what he does, who's coming after him. John A cares deeply about her partner, and I know MJ is not her partner on this season, but they act as one, so she can just focus on herself and play her game.
Maybe MJ could take a season off. Not that I don't want to see him on my screen, but
I will say I could have done one more week of both rivalries. I would have liked to see it play out for just at least one more week. I think it might get a little stale, at least on the men's side without it. The girls still have a little bit of spice going on over there, but we'll see.
So that's what I want to talk about next. The men's side of the game, it's now 5v1. It's Jordan versus everyone. If Jordan does not win next week, he's going into elimination. If it's a physical elimination, Jordan will probably, he'll probably call either Derrick or Nehemiah. Because those are probably people he feels most comfortable in elimination with. If Jordan wins the daily challenge, though, there are really interesting outcomes because he'll probably throw Wes into elimination. Wes would then probably call out either Derrick. No, he's probably calling out Derrick. I don't know who else Wes would call out.
Or Mark, depending on what it is.
No, I think Wes respects Mark.
I think that West doesn't really respect anybody like that. Like, I think he respects him, but I think he thinks it's deep enough in the game that, like, okay, if I can take out Mark, I'll take out Mark.
But
Yeah, something physical. I mean, Derrick's really the only option. But I guess it depends on the kind of physicality too. Like an endurance thing, I'd much rather have Mark than Derrick.
I can kind of see Jordan pulling the same move he did with Bananas, where he's gonna like try to get himself in so he can like take out the best.
Not if he.
I don't.
No, Jordan's learned from that. He could throw in Brad too, because if he sees Brad as a big threat, because Brad, I mean, he has been a big threat this game, and Brad would probably call out. He'd probably also call out Derrick.
And I'll only shake my head to the Jordan thing because there's a preseason clip where it says, "Would you rather earn your stripes or coast?" And Jordan said in this season's promo, like, "I used to try to earn my stripes. There's no point. Make it there however you make it. Don't step out of your way." So I think
Doesn't
if
mean
he
he's
wins,
gonna stick to it.
yeah, but it'd be strange to say something and then change up like 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I think he's grown from that point. I think he gets it.
The women's side just got really scary for the treehouse because losing Sylvia has them looking really weak. Because now you have KellyAnne, who is a cardio beast and is like a great player, John A, who's last year's champion and is good at everything, and Naya, who is an athlete and like a pretty big player. They're now united. Like Sylvia's gameplay united them, so it's gonna be those three going against Ronnie, who hasn't won anything, Veronica, who is incredibly intelligent but physically a bit limited, and Kayla. And Kayla's been amazing this season, but she's taking on a lot of the like athletic aspect of like what the alliance needs. So the treehouse isn't looking good anymore.
Yeah, where MJ leaving was great for John A's game, Sylvia leaving is horrible for Kayla's. Sylvia is a very effective shield. Like 10 times out of 10 on any of her seasons, she's a great shield. And it totally flips it because you're right. Ronnie and Veronica.
Ronnie had a wide open layup in that daily challenge, and she was too laser focused on what was right in front of her to see it. Not like that could happen to anybody, but like that's indicative of her performance this entire season at this point. I'd love to be proven wrong. I would love
She's good, but she's not. There's just something missing.
Yeah, she's just not at the top, and they need her to be at the top if they're gonna make it through the next couple eliminations.
I'll tell you what, though, those editors pissed me right the fuck off when they show this lovely confessional of Ronnie being like, "Yeah, I want to like my kids have never seen me compete, and I want them to see like Mom's a winner," and then they show her losing because she didn't realize one of her puzzle pieces was missing, and I was like, "Don't dog her like that. That's so mean."
Yeah. Okay, here's the hypothetical. KellyAnne wins the daily challenge. She puts Kayla in elimination. It's a physical elimination. Let's say it's a pole wrestle or a hall brawl. Do you think there's a chance Kayla calls down Veronica? Do you think there's a chance? Because like Kayla plays to win the game. Nia and Johnny aren't layups, and Ronnie, even though she hasn't like done much, she has she has some crazy good arms and traps. Like I wouldn't want to face her in something like that.
I think Kayla plays to win. And I don't think she wouldn't call out Naya. She wouldn't call out Sylvia because she is loyal to her. I wouldn't be so sure she wouldn't call out Ronnie just because I don't think Ronnie has like that grit to her. But given the circumstances, Kayla's not going to like throw herself on the blade just to protect her alliance.
This is just if she's in by KellyAnne's voucher and she has to call someone out for her safety, because like Veronica would be a layup for her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way that she calls out Nia or John A just to not spite her alliance members.
I don't know. Kayla's pretty loyal. I think that maybe she might call out Janae. Like Janae, you don't really see her do a lot of headbangers, right?
The only thing that I could see that would make a little sense to me, like I agree, I think Kayla's pretty loyal, is if she was totally freaking out about potentially having to go against Nia or Janae, is Veronica just saying, like, just pick me? Like, I think Veronica knows on some level that the chances of her winning are slim to none. That I could see happening, potentially.
If I was Veronica, I'd be like, don't pick me. I really don't want to get injured.
I will say, Allan, what a strange hypothetical to bring to the table.
I didn't think it was that strange.
It was just something I was considering because I was looking at all the different permutations and I was like, I wouldn't put it past Kayla because it's not even that I think like that like low for her as like not loyal, but I just think she's such a good cutthroat player and I think this close to the game, she knows she has a real shot of winning, so might as well like book your ticket to the final. And that's where it comes from, yeah.
Here's what I think is the most pertinent hypothetical. If Ronnie notices the missing piece early on and places it, she's likely throwing in KellyAnne because she's the main target. It doesn't make Nia mad. It doesn't make John A mad. It's likely KellyAnne. Who does KellyAnne call in?
I think when she sees it, there's a good chance she would pick Kayla over Sylvia.
Yeah, I do too.
Unless
Veronica
being completely
No, she wouldn't take Veronica in a puzzle.
no, that would be dumb.
I think she would take Veronica in most things because in that ring toss challenge, she was going after only Veronica. But in a puzzle, no, you don't want to face Veronica in anything mental.
And we have to assume Kayla's getting the sabotage next week, right? Like that's the only sense.
And it's gonna be trivia next week.
I'm so excited. Sorry, when you said puzzle, I won't lie, I did zone out because there was an ant crawling up my screen. It's the only thing I could focus on.
So who's winning next week? Are we taking bets? I got John A and Wes.
Yeah, like a lot of the men left aren't really that smart. Well, that's not true, but I'll digress. I think Wes for sure is the smartest, and then John A clearly. Love Kayla, not the smartest girl. Veronica's a little bit out in her own world. Ronnie's outdated, and then KellyAnne's just crazy. Nia, maybe. She's not a dumb girl.
Oh, she was good. She was good at trivia on X's too. It was just Leroy who got all their questions wrong.
We don't know what Ronnie's like trivia strengths are at.
We also don't know what kind of trivia questions we'll see.
Yeah, it might not be old challenge stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been our episode this week. I hope you guys all had a great time. I had a great time. My friends are beautiful. They have great smiles. They're just so charming. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. Follow Nikki on Twitter at @TheNikkiSin. Luke at Final Reckoning with an I. Zoe on Twitter at Nani Gonzalez. Myself on Twitter at Allan Aguirre. Caffeine Confessionals podcast on Instagram. CF Confessionals on Twitter. CaffeineConfessionals.com to get links to our Spotify, Apple, iTunes. Give us 5 stars. Subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a like. Also, we have a Challenge USA CBS edition podcast where we react to the cast photos dropping in a day or two on Thursday or Friday. It's me, Luke, and Paige from Most Likely 2 Pod and Pretty Petty on TikTok. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a mouthful, but I'm so glad I got to talk to you guys about this amazing episode. The challenge is so awesome, isn't it?
The enthusiasm here is, are you being held at some sort of gunpoint?
There's someone behind my closet right here. Oh my God, I'm terrified.
It's Wes.
It's me.
What's that, bounty towels? You got bounty? You're a bounty guy?
Yeah, my washer and dryer.
Oh, he got shmoney. He got that
No,
bounty.
I'm a teacher. No.
Oh, he got nothing. Okay.
I hope you guys all enjoyed this podcast. Have a great day.
Stay gay.